Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Mike Slinkard. This week is all about my favorite animal to bow hunt, the bull elk. My daughter Caitlin drew a highly sought after New Mexico tag, and we've enlisted the help of legendary elk guide and hex believer Ralph Ramos to give us a hand. After that, we'll head back to my home state of Oregon and chase some big bulls on my home turf. You know, we got into some exceptional bulls and the action was off the hook. But as a special bonus, after a 10-year hiatus to bow hunting, my mom picked up her bow again and joined Dad in the elk blind on a hot wallow, and they had some great bull action. And finally, to top it all off, Hex CEO Scott Eastman is along and has some incredible encounters of his own. This is an action-packed episode, and as always, we'll bring it to you, just like it happened, right here on Hunting with Hex.
Hunting is about getting close. Really close. Get closer than you ever thought was possible.
When you have a cameraman and you setting out in a dirt field like this, you can get away with so much with this hex on.
I've got to give credit once again to Hex.
We showcase the science of getting close right here on Hunting with Hex. Hunting with Hex is brought to you by PSE Archery, Tough Country, American Values Forged in Steel, Ozonics, Undetectable Undeniable, Victory Archery, the Carbon Arrow Experts, BumpersDirect.com, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, we call the game, Spot Hog, the world's toughest archery products, Worn Wenches, UC Hunting Properties, and Hex Stealth Screen, the evolution of concealment.
Well, on this first hunt, my daughter Caitlin and I joined Ralph Ramos of Ramos Hunts and Video Production Outfitters. Ralph is an elk hunting legend in New Mexico, and he's been putting guys on good bulls for decades. I'm hoping he can get Caitlin within bow range of a decent bull. Well, Ralph knows this country and he knows these elk, and it wasn't long before we had our first elk in front of us. Well, it turns out to be just a spike, and that's definitely not what Caitlin's looking for on this hunt, but it was a great way to start out. Well, over the next couple of days, we had a lot of elk starting to talk, but nothing was really fired up yet. Still, we saw elk every single day and had a few more close encounters. Finally, one evening, Caitlin spotted some elk through the trees ahead of us. One appeared to be a decent bull, and Caitlin was interested, so Ralph stayed back to do some soft cow calls while Caitlin moved ahead to see if she could get into range. Well, her plan was working perfectly, and she was quickly closing the distance on this group of elk. Well, she wasn't quite into position when this bull stepped out on the hillside below her. You know, this is a decent bull, and Caitlin's definitely interested in taking it if she can close those last few yards. Unfortunately, as Caitlin was closing in, a severe thunderstorm suddenly rolled in, and lightning and thunder started hitting close. With all this commotion, the bull started to slowly head for cover, and Caitlin decided it was time for her to do the same. If you've been watching Hunting with Hex for very long, you probably realize that Hex patented technology that we feature here on the show has become something of a must-have item for tens of thousands of hunters around the world. What you may not have realized is that Hex technology is also becoming an integral tool for wildlife biologists, researchers, photographers, and really anyone who wants to experience wildlife in its natural and undisturbed state. If you watched this year's Shark Week episodes on Discovery Channel, you saw Hex Stealth Screen logos on some of the world's foremost shark experts. Hex technology is also front and center in the hit show Extinctor Alive on Animal Planet, starring biologist Forrest Galante. Forrest and his team search for and sometimes find animals that were thought to be extinct, and they use Hex to help them in their quest. Hex is even being used by the U.S. military and police special units to help them stay less detectable by animals that can signal danger when they're in covert situations. Quite literally, Hex is popping up everywhere people interact with animals. The bottom line is all living beings, including humans, produce naturally occurring extreme low frequency electrical fields through heart rate and muscle movement. Hex products effectively block those fields, making the person appear more like an inanimate object. Hex is real technology. It's backed up by 5 issued patents, and it's fully proven to work. So no matter what you like to do outdoors, there's a Hex product for you. For more information on the other areas Hex technology is changing the way people look at concealment, check out hexllc.com and click on the links to the other Hex entities. Now, let's get back to more hunting action.
We'll see if Caitlin is able to score on a good New Mexico bull right after this.
We're hunting with Ralph Ramos in New Mexico, and every year Ralph guides some of the top bow hunters in the industry on some outstanding elk hunts. The way New Mexico's set up, if you contact through an outfitter and apply for a license, it greatly increases your odds. If you draw a tag, having an expert to show you the country is also a huge advantage and virtually guarantees lots of elk action. Ralph has a comfortable camp close to the action, and it's a nice place to relax after the day's hunt and recharge for the next day. We only had Ralph for a few days, and even though we'd seen a lot of elk, Caitlin hadn't yet had a branch antler bull inside an archery range. With time running out, Caitlin decided to get aggressive. She moved ahead towards some bulls that were bugling around a nearby pond. Ralph followed at a distance, calling softly, hoping to distract the bulls while Caitlin stalked in. As Caitlin neared the pond, she could hear several elk splashing in the water. There were elk standing all around, and her only approach was up a wide open fence line. Caitlin has lots of experience using Hex technology, and with no other viable options, she pushes straight at them right out across the wide open. Normally, elk would be busting out and there'd be alarm barks ringing, but she's seen many times before that by blocking her electrical signature with Hex technology, the elk just don't perceive her for what she is, and they let her walk right into archery range. When this bull stopped broadside, Caitlin took a quick range and let one fly.
I don't think I ranged the right thing when I first did it.
Unfortunately, the arrow went way low. Later, she rearranged the distance and figured out that in her excitement, she had to have accidentally ranged something in between her and the elk that was well in front, causing her to undershoot it. You know, it's an easy thing to do, and it's something we've probably all done at one time or another. I sure know I have. Fortunately, there were still a lot of other elk bugling on the hillsides around. Some sounded like they were heading her way, so Caitlin decided to set on a nearby trail and see if she could catch one moving into the water. She'd circled clear back around by the truck at this point, and this young bull literally walked right past where we'd parked the pickup. At this point, I was with Ralph about 200 yards back and not 100% where Caitlin had set up, so I just sat up the tripod and began filming whatever elk I could see. With only a few minutes of camera light left, Caitlin heard some elk approaching her from behind. This bull walked right past both Caitlin and the cameraman at less than 5 steps. Ralph and I saw the elk coming off the hill, so I was just filming what I could see. Ralph instinctively gave a couple of cow calls to stop the elk, hoping Caitlin was set up close enough to take a shot. It all came together perfectly.
He literally walks like under 5 yards right beside us.
Oh my. You know, by some miracle, and it really was a miracle, I got on that bull and I was just filming him. I wasn't even quite sure where you were. And all of a sudden, you know, Ralph cow calls, that bull stopped and whack, that arrow hit him with that luminoc and lit him up like you wouldn't believe. So, holy cow, what an experience. What a hunt here with Ramos Outfitters. It is unbelievable. So many bulls. I bet you, and this is no lie, I bet you we heard 50 bulls today if we heard one. And it's only, what, the 3rd of September.
Labor Day weekend, New Mexico hunting, man. It doesn't get any better than this, man.
Oh, my God.
The original Hex suit is very lightweight, breathable, and versatile enough to be used in almost any hunting situation. It comes complete with pants, shirt, and head cover, and is available in either Mossy Oak Country or Realtree Extra Camo. The material features a highly electrically conductive carbon grid woven into the polyester base cloth. This grid blocks your body's electrical field. Most people wear hex as an underlayer, but as long as the hex material is between you and the animal, it's just as effective. The pants are cut similar to sweatpants, with an elastic waistband, adjustable drawstring, elastic cuffs on the bottom, side pockets, and a convenient fly. The pullover shirt features thumb holes, serge stitching, and an embroidered logo. The head cover has a hemmed-eye hole, adjustable drawstring in the back, and is very easy to use. Additional accessories are sold separately and include the hex hat, made entirely of hex material and is very lightweight and comfortable. The gloves are made of a lightweight, stretchy material in Mossy Oak Camo with the hex technology woven in. The socks are a heavyweight over-the-calf sock and have the conductive hex grid woven into the material. Brand new for this year is the new multi-rag. This versatile face mask can be worn in a variety of ways. Order right now and use the promo code PURSUIT to save an instant $30 on your order of a complete hex suit. Learn more about our complete line of clothing and accessories, as well as our fit guarantee for worry-free ordering at hexhunting.com. Well, we've got one down and a lot more to come. Welcome back to Hunting with Hex. This week, the Hex crew is chasing bugling bulls with archery gear. And before the break, we watched as Caitlin Slinkard connected on a nice bull in New Mexico. Now, let's get back to the hunt.
Now we're headed back to my home state of Oregon. You know, we have some great elk hunting here, and I had a new area that was just off the hook. It was just like old days. Both Mom and Dad, as well as Caitlin, were hunting with me, so it was truly a family affair. You know, Mom and Dad are both retired now, and they don't do much hiking the mountains anymore. So we found them a good wallow back in the timber and set up a ground blind. Well, there are some really good bulls in this area, and I knew they had a chance at a trophy bull if they could stick it out. Well, both Mom and Dad are hunting, and they have a camera in the blind, and they're taking turns filming each other. And it wasn't long before they had elk all around them. Well, several bulls came into the water, and Mom decided she'd try to take one.
30 yards.
Now remember, Mom hadn't gone back on an animal in over a decade, so understandably, she was pretty excited. She accidentally hit the trigger on her release as she went to draw her bow back, and her arrow harmlessly hit the ground right in front of the blind. The elk heard the sound, but had no idea what happened. With those bulls still standing around in front of them, Mom reloads and decides to try again. Well, she's even more excited now, and once again she hit the release and the bow went off before she got to full draw. But this time her arrow flew out over the elk's heads. Needless to say, a fully lit luminox streaking out of the blind was a bit more than those bulls could stand, and they headed back up into the timber. Well, my Mom and Dad have been married for 55 years, and although they might have not have thought it was too funny, the rest of us really enjoyed the dialogue afterwards.
This thing keeps going on. Keep your finger off the trigger. I didn't have it on the trigger. Well, they ain't gonna come back now. They're right there. Well, yeah, 70, 80 yards.
Well, as you can see, when Mom and Dad get together, you never know what's going to happen. The next day, Mom and Dad are back in the blind when they see a good herd of elk feeding in the meadow and working their way into the water. Well, it turned out to have a really great bull in the group. You know, we'd seen this bull before during our preseason scouting, and we nicknamed him Tipper because those third points tipped way out to the side. He was one that we really wanted to get. The bull was slowly working his way closer and closer to the water, and this time it was Dad's turn to shoot. Well, unfortunately, before the elk got within range, they began looking around up the hill and they got nervous and took off. Dad and Mom weren't exactly sure what had happened. Soon, the mystery was solved as this big black bear showed up downwind of the elk, and it became obvious what had happened. Well, Dad had a tag in his pocket, and he definitely wanted some revenge on this bear, but unfortunately it stayed just out of range. Well, their time in the blind was not a total waste, though. Mom and Dad made plenty of new friends. Keep in mind, this isn't a campground. No one's hunted this spot before. Yet, with Mom and Dad both wearing hex, this totally wild chipmunk came right up to them, unafraid. After a couple days and a few dozen peanuts, Dad literally had him eating out of the palm of his hand.
The newest addition is our base layer. The base layer is a lightweight, semi-thermal material designed to be worn under your regular hunting clothing when you need just a little bit of extra insulation. It features the patented hex technology woven right into the material. The suit comes in 3 pieces: pants, shirt, and head cover. The shirt is a quarter-zip Henley with serge stitching, embroidered hex logo, and thumb holes. The form-fitting pants have serge stitching throughout, and an elastic waistband and cuff ensure they stay in place. They also feature a convenient fly. The head cover has a hemmed eye hole, adjustable drawstring in the back, and is very easy to use. Additional accessories are sold separately and include the hex hat, gloves, and our new heavyweight over-the-calf sock. Brand new for this year is the new multi-rag. This versatile face mask can be worn in a variety of ways. Order the Hex base layer right now and use the promo code PURSUIT to save an instant $30 on your order of a complete Hex suit. Learn more about our complete line of clothing and accessories as well as our fit guarantee for worry-free ordering at hexhunting.com. Well, I think you'll agree that was nuts. Fortunately, they'll get a little bit bigger right after the break. Welcome back to Hunting with Hex. We're enjoying some hot September archery elk action this week. And so far we've seen some animals hit the dirt, and well, some not hit the dirt. But whatever happens, the Hex stealth screen keeps the close encounters coming. Now let's catch up to host Mike Slinkard and find out where we're headed next.
Well, also hunting with us was my good friend and Hex CEO Scott Eastman and his fiancée Jessie. The pair spent quite a bit of time hunting several different areas and getting a feel for the best place where they could ambush some elk. They had several good days in the blind and saw lots of elk. Well, here's something that you don't see every day. Jessie and Scott were sitting on a water hole waiting for some elk to show up and spot this bobcat instead. It sniffs around the area for a while and lays down in front of the blind. After a short rest, it was up, prowling around, and the pair even got to watch it chasing around some game as it was trying to make a living. These are the things that Hex users see all the time. This particular evening, they spotted a group of elk coming out of the timber behind them. It turned out to be a group of young bulls, some of them passing mere feet in front of the blind. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything big enough in this group to shoot, so they sat quietly and let them wander off into the sage. Well, as the days ticked off, Jessie had to leave and go back to work, leaving Scott to self-film his own hunt. On this evening's hunt, Scott decided to set the same blind where he and Jessie had seen a lot of elk over the past several days. The wind was swirling and bad, and Scott knows it isn't the best evening to set there, but he also knew it was the best spot to take a good bull. So he decided to put on his Hex, fire up the ozonic, and just see what happens. It was still early in the evening when Scott caught movement off to his left. It turned out to be a gnarly old 6x7 bull. This old bull walked right out in front of the blind and proceeded to put on a show for Scott. He raked in the mud and splashed around for several minutes, while Scott, who remember was self-filming, was trying to figure out how to get a shot and get it on film before the bull decided to leave. Well, as luck would have it, Scott had all the time he needed when the bull laid down in the perfect position for a shot.
You know, tonight, not very confident. Wind was bad for where I was set up, but it's such a good spot, and it's been getting hit hard. Oh, just hexed up and ran the Ozonics tonight. Deadly combination, those two. Maybe a little hard to tell, but boy, he is a funky old bull. He's got this left side, looks like it's almost growing straight out of his forehead. Anyway, a night to remember. I won't forget that anytime soon.
I'm a huge believer in hex, and the reason is simply my success in the field. Time and time again, I have things that I just can't explain, and no matter which hunting camp I'm in, I feel like I'm having more opportunities than the people around me that aren't utilizing hex. The reality is, some animals definitely can sense things that we just don't know about. And with the encounters that I've had, I can tell you that hex has been my clear advantage. This past year, I got within top pin range on a giant open country bull and just sat there for longer than I was even comfortable for. And when he finally pulled away from that tree and started to come to where he had heard my call last, he literally almost walked right over me. Had no idea what I was, even when that arrow hit, and I'm giving that credit to hex. During the late season here in Iowa, there's nothing worse than being covered up with whitetails in a ground blind and having them look right in at you. I don't experience that anymore. I'm telling you, the proof is in the pudding for me. If you're interested in getting the best deal possible, make sure you use the promo code at the bottom of the screen. Or if you want to find out more, go to hexllc.com or give us a call at 541-575-HEX.
You know, from big bucks to bulls to bears and even the small critters, these are the days that we cherish forever with family and close friends. When one of them takes a true giant like Scott did, it's just icing on a very special cake. This week has been an incredible journey for us here at Hex, but you know, you too can make your own memories, and Hex can help. Give us a call or go online right now before the big fall rush hits and get your own Hex suit on the way. In the meantime, we'll keep pushing the limits and bringing it to you every week, right here on Hunting with Hex.
If you have an amazing hex encounter you'd like to share, give us a call or contact us online. If we use it on the air, you'll be in the running to win an exciting hunting trip with the Hex crew. You can find out more on our website at hexhunting.com. While you're online, make sure to take a minute and check us out on our social media sites as well.